In a day and age where streaming services have become more of a burden than a convenience, I have a bit of a hot take. I miss DC Universe. No, I'm not talking about DC Universe Infinite, the digital comic book subscription service that gives you access to thousands of comics at the palm of your hands. I'm talking about DC Universe, the ultimate DC membership that shut down around June 2020. Now, if you are a DC Universe member, you probably know why I miss it, but if you weren't a DC Universe member and you don't know anything about DC Universe, let me tell you all about it. DC Universe launched on September 15, 2018. When it launched, it was available on iPads, iPhones, Android phones, Android tablets, and believe it or not, it eventually got an Xbox One release, and we'll circle back to that towards the later end of the video. When it launched, it had an $8 a month subscription fee or an annual $75 fee for the year. Now, before I explain to you what DC Universe entailed, I want to talk to you about this quote that DC's Chief Creative Officer, Jim Lee, said prior to its launch. I think actually it's the first time we'll have a direct-to-consumer relationship. Even when we sell comics, it goes to the store and the fans buy it from the store owners. We'll actually be having a one-on-one relationship with the fans, the viewers. We'll be able to react in real time to their demands. It's a really unique proposition to us to cater a complete service to the desires of our DC fans. Now, I can tell you one thing. They succeeded at that, at least in person. That's right, I was at the DC Universe launch for New York Comic Con. I went there with one of my friends, and thanks to him, shout out to you, Jake, I was able to actually get footage of the event. It's not a lot, but what I can tell you is that one, this was the first time in probably a decade, if not more, where DC felt like they actually cared about the fans. I know it's dramatic to say, but DC actually made the fans felt like they were cared for and like they were acknowledged. This was the first time in well over a decade where it felt like DC wanted to make fans feel proud of actually being a fan of DC. I know it's a very wordy sentence, trust me, I'm trying to not make it confusing, but what I mean is, in over the past decade, I think we can all agree that it wasn't the best time to be a DC fan. The MCU was at an all-time popularity, it was hitting its stride, it was doing its thing, it was reaching the end of the Infinity Saga, and then there was the DCEU, and we all know that story. The DCEU just wasn't a fun time. It wasn't good. It was a roller coaster. It was like, we're so back, it's so over. We're so back, it's so over. And when it came to the launch of DC Universe, that was the first time in a while where I, as a hardcore DC fan, was like, you know what? Maybe things aren't so bad for us. I know, it's dramatic, but thanks to my friend who actually gave us this footage, I think I'm able to show you what that entailed. The DC Universe launch at New York Comic Con is where they premiered DC's Titans, and they also finally announced, or at least I think it was the world announcement, of Brendan Fraser, that's right, everyone's favorite actor from the Mummy movies, was playing Robot Man in Doom Patrol. I don't know if it was quite literally the world's premiere of the Doom Patrol trailer, but nevertheless, they announced Brendan Fraser as Robot Man after they aired the first 2 episodes of DC's Titans. That's all that really happened. They gave us popcorn, we laughed, we joked, we clapped. It was a very short event, but still, somehow I was there. You might be wondering what DC Universe actually had, and I'm happy to say that, believe it or not, it was more than just a streaming service. It was the home for DC fans. It tried to live up to the title DC's Ultimate Membership. Now, it entailed shows, movies, reading comic books digitally, forums, them live reacting to us, them breaking news to us, a DC Universe reward system, and more. Now, as for its launch, here's the exact image they posted everywhere prior to its actual launch. As you can see, it launched with Titans, Young Justice, Doom Patrol, an additional season of Young Justice, Swamp Thing, Stargirl, and finally, DC's Harley Quinn. Now, believe it or not, I can't believe I have to say this, but DC Universe was kind of ahead of its time. Yes, it was the home of DC fans, as I said. Yes, it had a full launch lineup. Yes, it had a reward system. But more than anything else, what it actually had, and I'm not sure a lot of people know this because I don't think a lot of people use DC Universe, it had 4K HDR support. That's right, a streaming service that was only $8 a month in 2018. This was, at the time of this video, 6 years ago. They had 4K HDR. The shows looked amazing. Unfortunately, DC Universe never lived up to its hype despite having an actual lineup of TV shows. Unfortunately, what ruined it was its release cadence. There was no real reason to actually come back to the app on a daily basis, despite the app having an exclusive show called DC Daily. If you've never heard of DC Daily, I don't blame you. It kind of just came and went, even though it had over 400 episodes. Now, to break down what DC Daily is, DC Daily offered DC fans news, interviews, and in-depth panel discussions about DC movies and TV shows. It was later canceled with the final episode airing July 3rd, 2020. Shockingly, this wasn't due to budgetary reasons apparently. According to Collider sources, it simply just was canceled because of COVID. Really. That's it. Even though it could have probably came back, as we've seen, a bunch of podcasts and streaming content or content creators in general actually work from home and make digital group content, they didn't even try. Despite them actually trying to kickstart a hashtag of #SaveDCDaily, nothing ever came up of it. It sucks, but that's just how the cookie crumbles. Now, DC Universe also had another show. Despite it not being a part of this image, DC Universe had a show called DC's All-Star Games, and I'm not gonna lie to you, I almost forgot this show existed. Now you might be wondering, how could he do that? He's the DC guy. He's the guy that covers everything about DC. I'm gonna keep it real short and real simple. I didn't watch this. That's really what it came down to. And apparently, according to subreddits and just a couple of quick Google searches, DC All-Star Games is lost media because you can't even find high quality official uploads besides the one episode that DC has on their channel, which I don't even think they know is on their channel. So I wouldn't be shocked if that gets unlisted one way or another years later. But to tell you about DC All-Star Games, I'm just gonna read the description not to, confuse things. DC Universe All-Star Games was a 6-episode series starring notable celebrities Freddie Prinze Jr., Sam Witwer, Vanessa Marshall, Claire Grant, and Xavier Woods playing a tabletop RPG show for DC fans. While I only seen the one episode on DC's channel for research purposes because I knew nothing about the show, I realized I could understand why it really didn't appeal to people. It just wasn't that compelling. If you want to have an anthology series that is having all these celebrities come together and sit down and talk about DC and roleplay these characters, get DC actors, get DC actresses, get voice actors. If you want to do a show like DC All-Star Games, get people who played a role in making DC a thing. It doesn't have to be the biggest actors. It doesn't have to be the biggest actresses. It could be voice actors. It could be people who played a role in making games happen. I don't know, but don't get random celebrities that just come together because, yeah, they like DC, and you're like, yeah, guys, we're gonna come together and we're gonna make this game for DC fans and then never talk about it ever again. Because even the branding wasn't bad. The branding for DC All-Star Games was a very nostalgic 80s vibe, and it was very intentional because they found, and by they I mean John Lee Brady, a sealed, shrink-wrapped copy of the DC Heroes game. Yes, that's right, that's what they played for DC's All-Star Games. They played DC Heroes. And here's Sam Witwer talking about the inception of the show. John Lee Brady found the sealed DC's Heroes role-playing game box set from the 80s, still shrink-wrapped, and me and Freddie Prinze Jr. were very excited by that. We were like, cool, great. And then eventually they came out with the idea, why don't we play that? And, well, I mean, it was a good idea. It had stellar production, it had good visuals, it was very engaging. But again, they should have got people involved with DC's history. That would have attracted more viewers. Anyways, I know that there's a lot of nerdy statistics that I'm now going to go over, so I'm just going to warn you, there's going to be a few charts. We'll breeze right past it, don't worry. I know a lot of people might be interested, well, if they had 4K support, and they had HDR support, and they had a full launch lineup of different shows that came out at different release cadences because the app was never consistent, what were the statistics like? Well, according to Parrot Analytics, Titans was one of the most in-demand superhero TV shows of 2018. In fact, demand increased as the series continued, peaking with the season finale. By mid-December, Parrot considered Titans to be in the top 0.03% of TV shows, which they officially class as amazing. And I'm calling cap because if you know anything about this channel's history, I can tell you right now, DC's Titans was nothing close to amazing. It was okay at best. Now, if you don't trust Parrot Analytics, I don't blame you, so I found an actual legitimate source because Parrot Analytics kinda goes by social media engagement, so the numbers could be a little stretched if we're being honest. I found a fantastic source, The Hollywood Reporter. Yes, that's right. For some reason, The Hollywood Reporter actually made an article about DC Universe, and although it wasn't about their viewership numbers for the movies or TV shows, it was about the comic book readership number. According to DCU, readership of the service's digital comics library increased 35% between February and April 2020, with the number of comics read on the service since its September 2018 launch topping 18 million at some point during that period. Both of the most popular titles in April 2020 were Batman related. I know, no one's shocked. With the first issues of both Batman White Knight by Sean Murphy and The Batman Who Laughs by Scott Snyder and Jock heading up the list of the most read issues for the month. Curiously, neither title was newly added to the service in April, suggesting reader engagement that goes beyond simply the novelty of a new arrival. It's crazy to think that a standalone nerdy app like DC Universe in 2018 somehow managed to pull those readership numbers. I guess that explains why DC Universe Infinite, the digital comic book subscription service I mentioned earlier in the beginning of this video, is massive today. DC fans actually read comics for whatever reason. And I'm not criticizing because I do it too. I'd be on DC Universe Infinite like, let me go search up Booster Gold. I want to read a Booster Gold comic. Let me go look up a Green Lantern to read about. Jon Stewart? Why not? It's just fun, and they made it easy for DC fans to engage with old content and newly released content. Although, just want to say, don't necessarily agree with having 2 tiers of membership. I think that's kind of whack, but that's just me. I kind of want to touch on something that I mentioned earlier in this video. DC kind of gamified the app by telling users, hey, just do basic things, you'll stack up these points we'll call tokens, and eventually you'll be able to redeem them to get a reward. The rewards, yes, were actually physical. It wasn't just digital rewards. I know that's crazy to think considering how expensive a statue is today, let alone an action figure, let alone any type of memorabilia, let alone a t-shirt, but they were giving awards just for using the app. And if you don't believe me, here's the literal description of DC Universe rewards. DC Universe Rewards will enable users to earn special tokens for ongoing engagement and participation on DC Universe, including the free-to-all community section, editorial features, and DC Daily. These tokens are redeemable for an amazing set of rewards, from a 30-day premium subscription to DC Universe to ultra-exclusive collectibles such as a special limited edition Harley Quinn supervillain pin set. Try to say that twice. DC Universe Rewards will offer new earn opportunities and rewards each week. I know what you're wondering. Were they high quality? Did the rewards suck? Were they worth the tokens? Well, I'm happy to say I did the research for you yet again, and here's a bunch of images of all of the different rewards they offered according to the subreddit. I couldn't find a lot, but this was pretty much all they had on the subreddit that is no longer active, and I just want to give a shout out to a friend of the channel that some of you might know, Neb's Good Takes on Twitter. Yeah, that's right, don't know how I'm friends with Neb either, but here we are. He sent me over a picture of one of his tweets that shows off a Stargo poster that you literally cannot find anymore. This is literal lost media. We don't know where any of the remaining DC rewards are because no one posts pictures about them anymore. Yes, I had to dig into the subreddit just to find the pictures I showed you. It's ridiculous. It's like this app never existed. Just like the DC Stargo original teaser trailer, which Neb also tweeted about, that no one could find because the minute they posted it, they deleted it because they made an error in the teaser trailer. You get the point. All of these different things are hard to find and hard to discuss. It's like trying to find Willy Wonka's golden ticket to get access to his chocolate factory. It's impossible. It's like people don't talk about these things because no one knows about it or seemingly forgot that this app even existed. Yet here I am making a video about it. What else you want me to do, okay? I needed something fun to talk about for this video. Since we're talking about fun things like DC reward system and lost media, here's a bunch of fun facts about DC Universe. Number 1, no one knows why DC Swamp Thing was cancelled. No, literally. We don't know. We never got a public explanation. We never got a marketed statement. We never got a simple tweet. Nothing. No one knows why Swamp Thing was canceled before it even aired. And it's the most frustrating thing in the world because let me tell you, you can barely find Swamp Thing today. I think the only place you can buy it is on a website like Grove that sells Blu-rays, or you can only buy it on Apple's digital storefront. Swamp Thing, the show that was highly produced, actually fantastic, well written, had stellar visual effects, had an insanely high budget, was canceled. And we don't know why. It's ridiculous. And it was not even one of those things where it got bad reviews or bad ratings or the viewership numbers went down. Before the first episode, Swamp Thing got canceled. And it sucks. And it sucks because Swamp Thing was such a fantastic show. The visual effects, the writing, the acting, the actual scary elements that were used in the show were phenomenal. Overall, it's one of the best pieces of DC media ever made. I wish I was being dramatic, but I'm telling the truth. I love that show. And before we could even get to the halfway mark, where they could use an excuse like, oh my god, the viewership numbers are down, we're not getting, a diminished returns or whatever, or, anything regarding the statistics of the viewership. No. Before it launched, before we even got the final trailer, a statement was out by all these outlets, and they're like, yeah, it's done. And we're like, what? How? We didn't even see an episode. You're telling us it's done? And the next thing you know, everyone who watched it loved it. It was like one of the few moments where DC fans came together and we were all like, you know what? This is sick. And we could not get more of it until they re-aired it on the CW during one of their Halloween events or one of the spooky seasons, or you know what I'm talking about. They do it in free form as ABC's 31 Days of Halloween. You know what I mean, okay? And just like Swamp Thing, Stargirl, which we just spoke about, actually also ended up on the CW. And guess what? It did better on the CW than the DC Universe app. I don't know how that's the case. I guess the audience kind of makes sense considering, the Flash and all the Arrowverse shows were all teenage-centric shows. But apparently, it did so well that it got 3 seasons and then it ended. And it also became a mainline character in the DC multiverse because in one of the episodes of Titans that centers around Beast Boy, which there weren't many, trust me, if you were watching DC's Titans, they did not care about Beast Boy. He ended up meeting Stargirl because he traveled the multiverse or something like that. It was a very weird interaction. I don't know why they did that, but it was cool nonetheless. Another DC Universe fun fact that's not related to Swamp Thing or Stargirl, Lost Media, or rewards is that they gave access to people for 24 hours to read free Batman content and also watch free Batman content. It was a really interesting thing that I wasn't aware was happening because I was always subbed to DC Universe, but apparently, according to the Hollywood Reporter, they did that and it was a successful event. I know, talk about the small wins. To get on a more serious note, let's talk about why DC Universe failed. And number 1, here's the reason why. We don't know. Okay, I'm just kidding. Yes, we know. Of course we know. I just wanted to keep the theme up as funny. Anyways, DC Universe failed because, and here's us circling back to the Xbox One launch. DC Universe never launched on PS4. We don't know why. That's right. In the generation where PS4 was dominating the Xbox One, they did not release an app. You would think they would have made that a priority. You would think on the priority list of features we need to do, content we need to get out, community engagement, rewards, PS4 app would have been a top 5 thing for them. And they never did. I don't understand it. How? How did they never do that? That's the biggest mistake. I think, truly, in my heart of hearts, if DC Universe had a PS4 app, it would have not shut down in June 2020. However, to give you a more literal statement as to why DC Universe actually failed or was shut down, Jim Lee said, the original content that is on DCU is migrating to HBO Max. That's the best platform for the content. The amount of content you get, not just DC, but generally from Warner Media, is huge and it's the best value proposition if I'm allowed to use that marketing term. We feel that is the place for that. While Jim Lee was right at the time of his statement, I think it's fair to say that this statement has aged poorly, because although HBO Max does allow budgets to be skyrocketed and allows the production value to be insanely high for all shows or exclusive movies or even documentaries, HBO Max sucks now in terms of content preservation. The DC content library on HBO Max is dire. It sucks. It's not good. Almost everything is missing. It's pathetic. It's actually very saddening to see the state of DC's library. It's basically just, here's the old Batman films, here's some old shows, here's the DCEU because, we have to, here's the Batman, the Penguin, and, here's some other stuff. It's no longer as massive as it used to be. The DC library is dire. It's pretty much pathetic, actually, and it's unfortunate because at one point in time it was fantastic. But now that HBO Max has pivoted to kind of focusing on trying to save money because that's the CEO's whole thing, we kind of lost out as DC fans. That's not to say the whole service sucks, but if you're looking for DC content, you're not going to find it. Beyond not launching a PS4 app and moving to HBO Max for budgetary reasons, the number one reason why DC Universe failed is because DC never launched its app globally. That's right. An actual underrated app that could have stood the test of time, at least in my opinion, didn't have a global app for no unknown reason, and this is a well-documented thing. I checked the subreddit. I was there when those subreddit posts were made. People were pissed and angry because DC never made it a priority to be like, you know what? Let's do right by the global fans. Let's make DC Universe global. Let's make a PS4 app. Let's get this thing everywhere and in front of everyone's eyes so that way we are maximizing our actual viewership. And it never happened. And we don't know why. It's so confusing. This app was available to only certain demographics, and the people who used it actually loved it, and I cannot imagine. It's like the Squidward meme. Like, I know what people know what I'm talking about, but it's like the Squidward meme where it's like Squidward's looking out at the window and SpongeBob and Patrick are having fun. That's how the global audience of DC Universe fans felt because they could not join the party. This is why DC Universe failed, because DC seemingly did not care enough to care about the global audience. They did not care to actually maximize viewership. They didn't care about getting every single pair of eyes on this app, and it sucks because DC Universe could have been something special. Hell, it was something special. It had everything you could want as a DC fan. You went there for everything, whether it was community polls, whether it was for forums, whether it was for shows, whether it was for actual old movies, whether it was to read comics, whether it was for news shows, whether it was for events or trying to get rewards. DC Universe was the ultimate membership for DC fans, but it was let down by all of these weird and very odd creative decisions, and it sucks because in my eyes, DC Universe was ahead of its time. And that's why, before we end the video, I decided to give you a few reasons why it should come back. That's right, it wouldn't be an IDontBeatGames video if I didn't do something like this. DC Universe should come back. We need a home for DC fans. HBO Max, as I said earlier, has a very dire DC catalog. There's no content preservation for DC fans, and more importantly, I genuinely think DC Universe could actually do James Gunn some good. To have an app where James Gunn could literally post about anything, whether it's behind the scenes photos, whether it's very cryptic tweets, whether it's hints about an upcoming announcement, whether it's telling us, hey, this trailer for this movie or this show is releasing tomorrow, whether it's him just being able to make random forum posts, whether it's him just wanting to talk and react to different topics that DC fans are talking about, or even uploading a private 60-second clip of him being like, hey, DC fans, we're filming on the set of Superman or Booster Gold or whatever. Like, those type of things could go a long way, and it could service James Gunn, who is, so, quote-unquote, called terminally online because he's always debunking stuff as he should. Another reason why I think DC Universe should come back beyond James Gunn having a home to communicate with DC fans and DC fans deserving content preservation is the simple fact that DC Universe Online could benefit from DC Universe. I know, it's weird to say, but if DC Universe was still around and they did an update where it's like, connect your DC Universe Online account to DC Universe and you get free rewards, you get digital outfits, you get skins, You get special effects or something every month, so it's not just a reward for logging in and paying for membership. You get double the awards for being the quote-unquote ultimate DC fan. That would not only service the website, but it would service DC Universe Online, because it would get people who ignore DC Universe Online to at least try it. Because let's face it, DC Universe Online is on its last legs. If it had the app companion where people who are reading the comics, people who are watching the movies, people who are watching new and old shows or making forum posts on the app, they would actually check out DC Universe Online, because those are the hardcore dedicated people DC Universe Online has today. And it would give people an actual reason to log on if you're someone that's never played the game before or wants an interactive experience in the DC Universe. It's a win-win on both sides. DC Universe continues to grow while it's on its last legs. DC Universe gets people to subscribe for more than just access to the content. I don't know how people can think I am wrong on this. It's a win-win for both parties. Final reason why I think DC Universe should come back is because they gave us rewards at conventions. Yeah, that's right. DC Universe actually have a reason to be a member besides access to the content, like I just mentioned for DC Universe Online. If you were a member and you went to Comic-Con, because DC Universe actually had Comic-Con booths, they would give you physical rewards. They had private meetups. They had reasons to actually be like, hey, look, I'm a DC Universe fan. What do I get? DC had an idea. The idea was called the DC Universe Initiative. The idea was to give DC fans the best home and ultimate membership to allow them to watch new content, exclusive content, old shows, new shows, and of course, read the source material while also engaging with one another and being rewarded for using the app. And instead of being successful and having a long-term life, it only lived for 2 years, and it sucks to say, but that idea was ahead of its time. And this is just me being reminiscent and me wanting to talk about something that was so near and dear to my heart. Unfortunately, DC Universe may never live again. It may never come back. We never know. We live in weird times. However, if DC Universe were to come back, of course, it would need PS5 clients, it would need an Xbox client, it would need to be available globally, and more than anything else, it would need an actual release schedule that wasn't the worst thing in the world. Oh my god, I cannot emphasize. DC Universe had the worst release schedule I have ever seen from a streaming service, my lord. DC Universe was one of those things where when I look back on it, I'll always have fond feelings because of the simple fact that although it lived a short life, it was the most fun I ever had being a DC fan. It was just great to have a home and a place to be like, I want to read this thing today, I want to watch this thing today, I want to read forum posts, and more importantly, it was fun to be acknowledged for caring about DC Comics. I know that sounds nerdy and it sounds very ridiculous, but the fact that we're like, no, this is for you, felt absolutely amazing. And I hope one day people actually think about this or talk about this again, enough so that it gets DC Studios' attention, so maybe we could get a relaunch, a soft relaunch of DC Universe, considering DC Universe Infinite is massive today. But you never know. It might happen, it might never happen. But at the end of the day, I hope you have fun listening to this little topic called DC Universe, the rise and fall of DC's Ultimate Membership. It lived a good life, it was fun, and for its time, it will always be appreciated. It's just a shame that it went out the way it did.